It was something that I know that God had for me at that time to give me something kind of like my blog, something to bring me joy and sharing with others.
Mel has turned to painting and blogging to cope and find solace because she suffers from NF2, a rare degenerative disease.
NF2 stands for neurofibromatosis type 2. NF2 are tumors of the brain and the spinal cord. Bilateral acoustic neuromas. They're benign tumors that are on the hearing nerve on each side, out of each ear, each side of the brain. And eventually as they grow, it puts pressure on the nerve and eventually they go deaf. If you looked at Melinda's MRIs, she has probably 8 significantly sized tumors, probably about 1 inch in diameter in her brain. There are 3 major ones in the spinal cord. She's had 1 removed that was putting a lot of pressure on. And there are 40, 50 multiple other ones just waiting to grow. And you never know when they decide to grow.
When he actually pulled me into the office and told me, I really did truly feel like something died, because I was almost like numb and just in shock, and it just let loose. The
day we had, that same day, Bonnie, we decided we would take Melinda to her flute lesson. And then I would come home early, and when they got back from flute lesson, I would be there. And we would tell her first, and then the rest of the family. And just a lot of things seemed to kind of die that day, including the flute. At the same time, for her at that stage of life, she had that optimism, that outlook that life was going to go on.
And life did go on for Mel. She graduated with a business degree from Colorado Christian University while continuing her treatment at Denver Children's Hospital. As the tumors continued to grow, Mel's conditions continued to worsen. It was then that she turned to blogging. She writes just about anything on her blog, from hospital stories to her paintings, and especially more recently, her struggles with NF2.
It's been 3 years now about. And over those 3 years, I was looking at all the stats on it this past week. She has had over 45,000 visitors on her blog. I think every country has read her blog, countries I'd never heard of before. She has had emails from people in Malaysia, people in Russia, England. One was it Singapore and Malaysia. I think it was gals that had her same disease, had questions.
Recently, as I've been reading her blogs, the more her eyesight diminishes to where now she can not see much at all, the more her sight on Jesus Christ seems to come into focus more and more.
I don't understand things, and I don't think I'm really supposed to all the way, but there comes a point where I know my body is dying, but at the same time, it only is going to bring me closer to the eternal life where there is no pain. And sometimes in my hardest times, I have to remind myself that it's only momentary compared to eternity, and that alone, God gives me the strength, to keep going, to keep living, to keep sharing my story.
I saw this one picture she painted. I'm like, what's that? I thought to myself. Then I read her blog. I'm like, oh, okay. This is what she sees out of her eyes.
Mel paints in her basement with various art supplies and completed paintings scattered throughout her studio. Her paintings can be found all over the community, from Beans and Cream to the homes and offices of Cedarville faculty and staff.
She asked what could she paint, and I asked her perspective of heaven. And she painted her perspective of heaven, and we have it hanging up over our fireplace. It's our most precious piece of art we have in our home.
And what's fun is Debbie and I are big fans of story, not just pretty art or experience, whatever it is, but connecting it to something. And so that piece of artwork for us, hanging in our home, is a constant reminder of Mel's journey. And it's an opportunity when people look at that particular piece of work and, hey, what's that about? We get to share Mel's journey with them.
It's been pretty amazing that she's gone, what now, 14 years, I guess, or 12 or 13 years that she's actually had the disease. And, you know, she's failing, but at the same time, she's doing miraculously well, considering everything.
It's hard. She's always a very fun-spirited girl. Just has this dry wit and humor about her that just often cracks us up, keeps us going. Even before her disease, she was a fun kid, still is. And more as time goes on, she holds no punches about who the God is that sustains her through all of this, who the God is that gives her strength and hope.
I know that there's a reason, the only reason why I get out of bed every day is because God gives me the strength to do so, and it's only answered prayer, you know. There's so many people praying for me, and according to my MRIs and everything, doctors say otherwise. I shouldn't be walking, and I shouldn't be doing, you know, things that I do with my hands.
The joy of the Lord is her strength, and it's become mine.
I live to bring God glory, and if my suffering does that, then I want to glorify God in my sufferings.
She's dying in her body, but she has more life in her, and she just wants to keep living.